I told him I was going to get 35 or more and we was going to win. And we did that for the culture.
Only right here. WVON 1690 AM.
11:05 on the south side of Chicago, and you already know what that means. It's time to rock with the bigs. I'm your man, Terrence Tomlin.
You already know I need no introduction, man. I'm going to let my boy T-Tom take care of that business for us.
Yes, sir. You heard him say it. Man, right back at it, Gino. Happy to be right back in the studios, the Talk of Chicago, WVON 1690. Another good, fun show planned tonight, man. Got our man, Evan F.Moore, live in studio, kicking it with us. Going to be joining us in the next segment.
We got our family member, Evan, in the building, man. It's always a pleasure to bring one of our extended family members, one of the first guys to show us some love in this here media business under the act, man. So
definitely, man. And you know, he's done so many things, you know, since we've got to know him. But right now, he's a digital content producer with the Sun-Times, adjunct journalism professor at DePaul University. You know, he's coming to kick the real stuff with us tonight, man.
All day long, man. Nothing but the real coming from the bigs on WVON. While you rocking with the bigs, you know, anytime we touch down on 87th Street, man, I always get that 80s feel, that 90s feel, man, growing up over there with the brothers, man. And yeah, man. Nostalgia.
Exactly, man. You know, this is both our area. You know, every time we drive, we make that drive down Cottage. You know, it's like taking a trip down memory lane over here, Thule Park. I know you grew up, you know, this is your hood. This is where you grew up.
Thule Park, man, Cole Park, many days. Dauphine Park right there on the corner,
I'm about
man.
to say, that's where they do the taste of, you know, WVON. So, you know, it was like a match made in heaven, you know?
Okay, man, it used to be a park right there on the corner with a hoop and everything. We used to get them in over there, man.
Okay. Man, speaking of the hoop, of course, you know, we bringing it in. Man, state championship week is getting closer and closer. We done narrowed it down to how many teams?
I don't know, but before what two games? What did we catch first? We
called Marist and Thornton, 3A sectional.
No, it was Bloom.
Oh, Bloom. Excuse me, yeah. Bloom and Marist in the 3A sectional out at Marist.
Yeah.
And man, it was live. It was cracking, and it was some great basketball. That Marist came out on top, and was able to advance, you know, to the sectional or the super sectional. So. You know, that's exactly where we are in the high school season. It's like, okay, when are these guys going to run up against the Simeons and the Whitney Youngs and, you know, those guys of the tournament?
Well, we started off earlier in the week. We were out at Timothy Christian, and we saw who did Orr beat? Oh, Uplift. We saw a good Orr versus Uplift game.
Nice overtime matchup.
Yeah, Uplift had them. They jagged. Tone can't coach.
Ooh.
Marquise got to stay off the ground. Torres got to get in shape.
You definitely took it there with that one, man. But if you saw the game, it's hard to argue with that. You know, Uplift definitely put up an 18, 19-point lead early on in that game.
Yeah.
And just slowly, you know, watched Orr work themselves back into the game. But, man, speaking of coaching, you know, like you said, man, it was coaching issues on both sides. We was missing Lou Adams on the Orr side.
Yeah, Lou Adams was out in Wyoming for his son's senior night, so you could really tell how much Lou means to Orr. Just by how they came out kind of flat, and then they weren't really paying attention to who was the coach. I think it was Phil that was coaching that day.
If you saw, you know, shot in the dark, you definitely saw a lot of Phil on the Orr side.
Yeah, so it was just a matter of time, though, before Orr, you know, got it together and pulled out the W.
But, man, so what was the biggest thing as far as Tone and the Uplift coaching that you thought, you know, he could have did better?
Well, first off, I've seen Uplift play 4 times this year, and I haven't seen them run one play at all. So they have no discipline. They're very athletic. That's why they stay in the
Jacobs,
game. Yeah, the show
definitely always has been probably the most athletic player on this side. So.
Yeah, but he's just got to get better. They all just got to get better. Like, it was a bunch of stuff that culminated in that jag, because they really jagged. Like, no way are you up 19 points in a high school game and you don't come away with a W with no shot clock.
I told you in the second quarter that I thought they looked gassed, you know, and I knew that facing that Orr team that is as deep as they come, I knew that was going to be an issue as we got, you know, as we worked our way through the game. And I'm like, how are these guys gassed in the second quarter of a playoff game?
Well, they did play every minute, the show and Torres and the other guy. They did play the whole game, but it's high school. You should play the whole game. Torres didn't jump for a rebound the whole second half. So he was out of shape. Like I said, Marquise Jacobs just got to stay off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And they're young, so, they a lot of growth over there, man.
Credit to the man, Brian Hernandez, who knocked down 7 threes.
Yeah.
Definitely is the reason Orr is not sitting at the crib right now. So you got to tip your cap to Brian Hernandez, who's one of the unsung heroes on Orr this week.
Yeah, Orr will face Hope Academy in the Joliet Central Super Sectional Tuesday, March 6th.
What's up with this Whitney Young versus Oak Park?
Is that this week?
I think that's the next game for Whitney Young coming up, man.
No, it's Whitney Young versus Lincoln Park.
Whitney Young versus Lincoln Park, excuse me, but that's a rematch of a game that we had early on in the season where Lincoln Park actually gave Whitney Young an L.
Lincoln Park pulled that one out over Whitney Young. So like we said, Whitney Young, come playoff time, they're a totally different team, man. So I'm looking for nothing less than top-notch play led by our boy Vano over there, Javon Freeman, one of the top 5 bigs hoopers this year. So I'm definitely looking for those guys to come out, play a well-played, well-disciplined
play
ball
some Whitney
game.
Young basketball for sure.
Whitney Young ball.
Whitney Young, speaking of them, we saw our guy Lucas Williamson. We were talking about him on the way over here for Loyola, going ahead and getting inside the tournament. They dancing.
They are dancing. Shout out to the Loyola Ramblers, man. MVC champions, first time in the history. Shout out to our boy Lucas Williamson, man. He said he was going to the tournament, and he showed and proved, man. Hit a big 3 this afternoon, so.
Yeah, that's a credit to the talent in this city, man. He wasn't a kid that was recruited heavy, but he definitely went over there to Loyola and made a huge difference. And that should get some of these scouts looking at the talent in Chicago again. They need to make better decisions when it comes to the kids in the city.
Definitely, man. We got to get some of these kids to stick around, man. I don't know what type of recruiting y'all do. How y'all let Raekwon Drake get an offer from Grambling and nobody else from the city gives this kid an offer, man?
All that raw talent just waiting to be molded by a good coach, because he's already with a good coach, but a good coach at that next level.
Yeah,
gonna,
next level
do
coaches.
A lot of justice.
Yeah, that can get him some individual help that when they have time to, work one-on-one with him and give him that extra work that he needs just to get better, man. There's no reason these kids should be able to get out of Illinois when we got 12, 13 Division I schools here, man.
Shout out to Raekwon Drake from Orr for getting that Grambling offer this week.
Yeah, no doubt. But we also got Simeon. Don't forget about Simeon. We got Simeon versus Brother Rice at the Thornton Sectional. That's Tuesday, March 6th, 7 o'clock. So we're looking for Simeon to continue to work. But, man, it's one game. It's just like it's March Madness now, so it's one game and anything can happen. So, like Rob said, if you ask them now, people think they won the state championship already, but you know the famous saying, that's why they play the game, man.
Yeah, you know exactly how I feel about Simeon. I don't know if anybody's going to have the opportunity to beat him, but I felt that way about Hillcrest, and we saw them lose to Rich East.
Come on, Hillcrest.
This past weekend, Rich East lost their coach and their best player in the middle of the season. Shout out to Craig Hodges. But, yeah, so like you said, they can, any given night, one of these teams could go down. So, sorry, Hillcrest. I thought we was going to be able to see y'all downstate.
Definitely wanted to see Hillcrest one more time, but, hey, man, it's over with for them.
Definitely. But, man, so I'm looking forward to another week of high school basketball, man. The state playoffs are definitely shaping up to be cool.
So what, the 2A playoffs state finals will be this weekend, right? 1A and 2A. We don't know any teams in 1A, so I'm not going to say who cares, but who cares?
What are you looking at that 1A schedule, like who versus who?
Yeah, I don't know any of those.
We got to find a way to get us some love.
Shout out to Corliss. Corliss is also playing in the Super Sectional. They're playing some team from, I don't know.
But you know what, Corliss, has done it in impressive fashion. They're clearly, one of the best teams in that class. And I love how George Condon, leads that team. So I'm excited for Corliss, man. Hopefully we get that Orr matchup, right?
You know what else I was impressed with George Condon about? I saw him the tweet. Did you see that tweet when the guy was calling him trash and the worst Iowa State recruit? And he handled it like a true player, man. He must be listening to the bigs when we say, man, the most important thing you can do out here is to keep it player, man.
Taking a page out of our book. He didn't snap on him. He didn't rant on him.
Yeah, man.
Definitely kept his cool. I was impressed.
And you guys, man, I feel like Charles Barkley, man. If you don't have nothing good to say, just shut up, man. Because who are you to tell this guy, this hard-working kid, that he doesn't deserve a scholarship to play basketball? Like, that was kind of huff, man.
No, and we both know that George has put in the work and deserves it. So I'm happy he handled it the way he did. definitely took a page out of the Bigs book.
We got some. What about 3A? That's Morgan Park's championship to
Morgan
lose.
Park is advanced. I'm definitely looking forward to, Io getting another piece of hardware.
No doubt.
But, man, speaking of Morgan Park, that's going to bring us into our first break. On the other side, we have a Morgan Park alum. Our guy, F.Moore, is going to be joining the conversation, man. On the other side of the break, we'll bring that to you. You're rocking with the Bigs on WVON, the Talk of Chicago.
Yes, sir.
WVON.com.
Right back at it. WVON, the Talk of Chicago. You are rocking with the Bigs. I'm your man, Terrence Tomlin. Kicking it with you on another Sunday, man. Happy to be bringing this game to you. Happy to be sitting with one of our best guys, man. Gino, our family member. One of the guys that has brought us and basically looked after us on this journey, man. The one and only Evan F.Moore from the Sun-Times, an adjunct professor at DePaul, is joining us this evening. Shout out, Ev. What's going on, bro?
Good evening. What's going on, gentlemen? Thanks for having me.
What's the word, Ev? How you feeling out there, brother?
Been pretty good, man. Things are on the up and up, and I doing what I want to do, so it's all good.
Definitely, man. So you told us we on hollow ground. We on one of your old stepping grounds. That used to be an intern at WVON, right?
Yeah, I was an intern for Perry Small Show, and it's kind of one of the first places that gave me a platform. So humbled and honored to be back in the building.
Definitely, man. Now, for those that don't know, we had an article written on this when we first, started doing this. That really kind of propelled us on this path into new heights and to a new atmosphere, man. And the man Evan was the man that penned it for DNA Info at the time. R.I.P. DNA Info. Man. I guess we got to go ahead and lay them to rest but bless them at the same time, because without them, who knows?
Who knows, man? May not be no Evan F.Moore in the Bigs, but, that's neither here nor there, man.
Exactly,
we're here with
man.
the man himself. Evan, let the people know about the independent grind you've been on for the longest, man.
Oh, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, it's been a minute, because I kind of had a dream. I kind of backed into writing. It was one of those things where I was kind of doing some other stuff and it didn't really pan out, but I wasn't really passionate about it. And one day I was just like, let me just get into writing. I just kind of started writing about things I thought that were important, and just went from there. Just being seen and getting heard, and being on the hustle with it. And I was working a night gig at UIC while I was in school, and I would leave there. Go to the internship, sleep in the car for 2 hours.
Oh, man.
Go to the internship, do that for 9 to 5, and then go to class and do it all over again. I did that for a couple of years. And you probably think man, when you get to sleep? Hey, man, you on this grind, this hustle, man, sleep is secondary. It'll come when it wants to come, but when you got a dream, you just got to put some things aside.
Definitely, man. And that's probably the truest glimpse that you're going to get into the life of a aspiring journalist, man, especially in this city. But, man, one of the things I've loved about watching your journey, Ev, is how real you've kept it in terms of your reporting, man, at DNA Info. Even, after DNA Info, the stories you were able to tell, I don't know if they would have been told without you. So, can you talk a little bit about what drives you and, what's your code and some of your motives that you keep in mind, while you report and while you're on your journey?
Yeah, like most of us in communities where we're looked at as second-class citizens. I mean, I saw the same thing growing up, how our people are talked about, how we're written about, what words are used what words are used to describe us. And, that ain't right. We see a lot of people online these days saying, how come the media doesn't do this, or how come the media doesn't do that? It's ways to kind of put some action to those words, and I felt like that's what I needed to do, man. Growing up not too far from here over in South Shore, both my parents were CPS teachers. I came from a family of police officers, teachers, activists, stuff like that. So just from a young age, I was told hey, you gotta speak out, you gotta speak up, and speak out, and go for yours. And I like some of the people I looked up to growing up. Obviously Ida B. Wells, Harold Washington, Fred Hampton, people like that. Whereas like you ever seen any of my writing or anything like that, that's where it kind of comes from. So, yeah, because I always wanted to talk about the stories that people aren't talking about. Some folks like to say I want to give a voice to the voiceless. It's more so just trying to amplify voices already out there. People have been heard, and they need it. I feel like in some areas you need people to talk about what's really going on. So that happened a lot of DNA Info. There's times where I wrote stories where they told me, hey, we wouldn't even know that about that one for you. Because I'm in this community. I'm of this community. So, yeah.
Definitely got to, take care of it. Like you said, we're of this community, and we got to be the ones to tell the story. But, man, what a lot of people don't know is I'm sitting across from one of the only guys I know that stays true to it, and I'm talking about the sport of hockey, okay? I never question this man on it because I know he comes legit. You'll find him on skates on the ice himself, so I'm definitely trusting this man's word when it comes to hockey. So we definitely want to make sure that we talk about what's been going on in the hockey world because, unfortunately, we're not getting ready for a Blackhawks playoff run. Unfortunately, we got to talk about some of the off-the-ice stuff that's been going on, and I'm happy we got you here to discuss it, Ev.
Yeah, so Blackhawks, it's been time. Like, it's all those years of right before Kane and Taves showed up and all the stuff that's been going on with their defense and the salary cap and all this stuff, it seems like it's caught up to them. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting here, watching it, one of the NHL's most popular and most winningest teams in the past decade or so, and it's pretty much no playoffs. It look like at this point. We pretty much say it's no playoffs at this point. I mean, this team was kind of led by a fan base that in this era where it's social media, where they kind of pulled in so many different people because of social media. They had young stars. They had a Blackhawks TV, so people got to see these guys not only grow up, but I guess you can say that they liked them and everything, but it was kind of like they emulated them too. They felt like there's somebody that they know. Like, hey, they looked at Kane and Taves as somebody like a little brother or somebody they knew, and that's kind of where the fan base grew. And you can see these days what's happening on the ice, and like they were a type of team where is that they're all about puck possession and keeping it in their zone and playing really good defense. They're a strong team up the middle and with goaltending and things of that nature. That was a team that a lot of other teams in NHL feel, but you kind of see the cracks in the wall after what happened, how they got thrown out the playoffs last year by the Predators, and you saw how they won like 50 games, had one of the best records in the league, and you kind of wondering what happened in the playoffs. You kind of look back on that season, they won a lot of close games, and because they won those games, they kind of felt like they was kind of feeling themselves a little bit. But you see what happened with this season where you don't have where you see Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith on the back end on the blue line or whatever, and they're aging in that position. People don't realize it takes at least a long time for those players to get good. If I can explain to your listeners, it's basically like playing defensive back in the NFL, where you kind of have to have a short memory. So,
and that's, Ev, you said these guys are aging. That's basically, where we're at right now. Unfortunately, the run can't last forever. But, man, we got to go into a break real quick. On the other side of it, man, I got to ask you about the fan that they had to ban, when they were playing the Washington Capitals. So, on the other end of this break, we'll jump right back into it. We're chopping it up with Evan F.Moore from the Sun-Times. You're rocking with the Bigs on WVON, the Talk of Chicago.
Yep.
WVON.com.
Like we always do about this time.
You're rocking with the Bigs. Welcome back to the show.
It's halftime. That Esco playing in the background is always music to my ears.
We're going to have to throw that clip into the Bigs Hall of Fame, bro. Officially.
I agree with you,
Shout
man.
Shout out to Shake for the vocals on it.
Straight up, man. You back alive, rocking with the Bigs, WVON 1690 AM. We got the family members in the building, man. I got to shout them all out, man.
It's a must. It's a must.
We got my boy Dre in the building. We got Hogan in the building. We got my family member, the Prez, in the building.
Hey.
We got Drake, Drizzy in the building.
GTD in the building.
We got my man J Bull on the building.
As always.
And we got our guy, Evan F.Moore in the building, T.
Special guest, man, the one and only Evan F.Moore. I call him the best in the biz. I got to take credit. I think I was the first to kick it off, and he's made me look good ever since I went on and dropped it.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that one, man. But coming out of the break, check it out. We were talking about hockey, man. Now, before we get into how in the hell you got into hockey, man, I don't know any black people that play hockey. I went to Mount Carmel. We were I know we won state one year I was there. Those guys have the stinkiest equipment that I've ever smelled in my life, man. How did you get into hockey, brother?
Yeah, that's the first question everyone who comes across me asks. Like, how did somebody from 73rd Street get into hockey?
Yes.
All right, well, I grew up in a kind of eclectic household. My family is all kind of in like the different stuff, and they kind of never really, told me I couldn't do something because of being black or whatever. And I was like, dating myself. I was watching the 1988 Olympics.
Wow.
I seen Soviet Union team, and that's how dope they were. Like how they're a really good team, and it kind of just went from there. I started liking hockey, and then I was reading Jet magazine one day, and they used to do that section like blacks in sports. Yeah. That toward the back, and they had a picture of Tony McKegney, wearing the Indian head sweater. I was like, yeah, I'm sold. Like it's just if he can do it, I can be a fan and do it.
Right.
So.
Yes.
There weren't really any rinks around me, growing up or whatever, going up over east or whatever. I was a fan, but, I didn't really play any sports. And then for a now defunct website, named Chicago Side, I wrote about being a black man, a hockey fan, and some of the stuff I just discussed. And one person read it and, sent me some equipment. And I was like, might as well just, go for it. What's stopping me from learning how to play? So I found a Groupon for this rink in Indiana. And like half off on lessons, so I just went out there and did it. And like I was out there skating with the kids and everything else. I was basically like Saturday Entertainment, Kings of Comedy. We was like on the rail, like don't like that, stuff like that. So it's crazy. Also being the big dude and like trying like skates, like it was like one of those things where it's like what you doing, but. Hey man, I was one of those people, man. I was worried about haters and other folks later because we always see when even in fashion, like somebody puts something out there, we're like, what's that dude doing? He lame, you're goofy, and then like a couple years later, you wearing the same stuff you was ragging on before. So yeah, we definitely see that that happen a lot. But yeah, for me, man, I'll go to different places. I'll get a lot of stares. Nobody really say anything to me about it. It's like people like doing like double takes, like what you doing here? Like what you doing here?
Right. Let me know.
Right.
But no, Ev, I got to give it to you because I tell you one thing. I don't want anybody to see me on skates, whether it's with wheels or ice skates. So I definitely got to give you credit when it's due. But, man, like you said, Ev, a black man in the hockey world, man, there's got to be something crazy. And we got another glimpse into it recently, man, with the Blackhawks game where they ended up having to ban this guy, man. What happened, at the UC?
Yeah, Devontae Smith-Pelly, he's a forward for the Washington Caps. He was in the penalty box, and he's there hanging out, during all the power play, and a couple of fans to his left was, yelling stuff at him, yelling basketball at him, and you see he was pretty angry about it. And most people don't realize, like, in that sport, like, they see a brother, like, they feel like hockey culture as a whole kind of feels like that we don't belong to that sport. That's not our thing. They feel like that's how they look at it. And chanting basketball at him is basically saying it's like a cute way of saying the N-word. Like you don't belong. Why are you here? Right. Go play a sport where everyone else look like you. Don't play this sport. And that's kind of where it comes from. Where it's I want a few people who knows of this stuff because obviously I'm a fan of the NBA, but also obviously a hockey fan. So I kind of see on both sides what people say about each other. It's crazy how for a long time, especially in this town when the Blackhawks were doing really well and the Bulls were kind of doing all right, but it's like a majority conflict with these folks. They mad because that every time something will happen with Derrick Rose or Joakim Noah, it'll make big news on what the Blackhawks were doing. I used to just tell them, like, look, you're in a basketball town. This is like basketball in Chicago is like football, high school football in Texas. Don't get mad. Right. Like we can rattle off names of a whole bunch of folks that's Hall of Fame and did well in college and pros that from here that we saw play in the public league or the Catholic league or on the Birds or whatever. You can't say that with hockey here.
Right.
Eddie Olczyk, that's about it.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's
exactly.
And these folks, like for some reason, they get real mad when And this is how they talk about NBA players and free agency and stuff like that. And it's crazy when you kind of like research this stuff and you kind of see it for yourself. You just like, man, what's the problem? Like it's crazy.
Yeah. That's exactly, what I thought the first time I read this story. You yelling basketball at a guy like that's where he belongs, like he doesn't belong in this world. But, man, in this world as far as the hockey world.
Yeah.
But like you said, Ev, how did you get into the game? He saw a black hockey player in Jet, and that was all you needed, man. I can't tell you off the top of my head, a black hockey player that when I was coming up that got me in the game, As far as expanding, the interest to our audience, man, what does hockey need to do to get on the right track as far as expanding their audience and making it more diverse? Or is it just something they don't care about at all?
Well, let's think about when that happened. February, Black History Month. NHL co-ops that month and calls it Hockey is for Everyone.
That's the All Lives Matter version.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember me and you at the Soul and Ice event last year?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh,
that was a year ago.
Definitely.
When they had Kwame Mason, go around to different cities and talk about a documentary about black hockey players, and you can see where that's going on with that is a few people out there are scared that this sport is changing, and it's changing for the better. Like every year, think about this, like it's like 30 POCs in the NHL, and 20 of those like identify as being black. And I've talked to a couple of them. They all have a story about somebody yelling stuff at them and wearing in their stands, and their parents hear it, or somebody saying stuff for them. So this incident wasn't a one-off.
No, it's definitely not the first time you heard it. Like you said, man, in Soul on Ice, they was throwing bananas on the ice, and things like that. It gets crazier and crazier. The things that black men, that had an interest in hockey had to go through just to play in this game.
Yeah, like Val James, like he was the first African American to play in the NHL, and in his book he details an incident where fans were being on the bus and they were like, bring out the N-word, over and over again, and he had to sit there and take it. And you ever read his book, you should check it out. Whereas it got so bad for him, like he didn't watch a game till like 28 years after he retired. That he was just so hurt or what happened. Wow. He would get invited that the league would invite him to things and stuff like that. He's like, nah, I ain't trying to hear that. Like it's how it was. It's pretty bad. If it's bad now, you can imagine what it was back then. And a lot of these guys I've talked to over the years and some of the stuff they went through, you're just like, why? Like we're still like in 2018 still dealing with this stuff, and they kind of tell us like, to get over it or stuff like that. Like, well, we're drilling our heads. Like that's why we act the way we act because of that stuff like that.
Now, do you think this fan deserved to be banned?
Yes. Yeah, you got to go. I mean, it's
definitely.
It's NHL. I mean, they need to rein some of this stuff in. It's like of all the sports that needs people from other areas or not from traditional areas is them. Basketball is good. NFL is good. In some areas, like even baseball reaches out better than in the NHL. Yeah. You can see how crazy that is. But yeah, like they just need to. Because when I was watching that whole incident, I wanted to bet anybody in my pocket that some kid or some family wanted to get their kids involved in that game. They saw the incident. It was like, nah, I'm good. I'm not going to put my kid through that.
No, and, that's exactly, one of the probably the worst fallouts is that you had the kids in an environment that get the green light, that type of, behavior towards black hockey players is normal. And so I was happy to see the Blackhawks absolutely shut that down immediately, with the statement that they put out saying that, they don't condone racist comments or anything in the vicinity of a racist comment. I'm glad they didn't just say, oh, yeah, it wasn't the N-word. And I don't even like to say the N-word because we on WVON. I got to say the N-word. Right. But, I'm glad they just didn't keep it to this hardcore racist language. It's all the subliminals and all of that as well.
Hey, I get a bad vibe from the Blackhawks locker room anyway. So
it's nice as it is, but it definitely has bad vibes coming from it. But, man, race has been an issue as far as this week. Of course, it's an issue with sports all the time, but Lamar Jackson, even, with the NFL Combine, they trying to, basically nudge this guy into another position, which we see it often. You feel me?
It's bogus. Now, hey, man, we talk about this all the time. It's bogus, man.
Yes.
Like, they do the brothers wrong. And I'll be honest, okay, first of all, it's their league. It's the National Football League, so it's their league, so they can sign who they want. But to their credit, the white quarterbacks are usually better than the black quarterbacks because they think the game. We're athletic, man, and they don't, like Terrence said, we saw Vic, we saw Randall Cunningham, we saw Donovan McNabb. And even with Donovan McNabb, when we were at Mount Carmel, University of Nebraska, he got all the highest recruiting letters, but only 3 schools were offering him to be a quarterback. And it was Syracuse and maybe 2 other schools. And he was not, it was like Nebraska, UC, all these top schools, but they wanted him to be a running back and it's like, why? And like Lamar Jackson said, they didn't ask Josh Allen if he was going to try out for tight end.
Exactly.
So it's bogus, man. That's
this is crazy to me because, all right, say if he was to actually try out for wide receiver, he plans this. He never played before,
right.
and he's got on top of that, he got to be good enough to be drafted.
Right.
And what if he's not good enough, and the team only has him on their board as a wide receiver?
Right.
I mean, as a quarterback. So what happens to him then if he's not good at this position? They all want to push him into playing.
That's why I like that he didn't do the 40 this week.
Yeah.
In the combine, because it's like, no, check my arm.
Yeah.
Check my arm out. You see I'm fast. Go look at my Heisman tape. All right, go look at my Heisman tape, and you can see how fast I am. But it's about the instincts. It's about, the game action. When you're at the combine, you don't have linemen coming at you. So I was happy to see him basically get in front of that conversation because, first of all, he doesn't have an agent. So he's speaking for himself. A lot of the things that you hear from Lamar Jackson are coming straight from
the
him.
heart, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like Lamar Jackson. I like his whole aura about this thing. It's like, man, I'm a Heisman Trophy winner. I thought that was pretty good, if you ask me. And like I said, I was watching something, and it was like they had Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, all these guys and their projections, and then they had Lamar Jackson, and they had not applicable. I'm like, damn, that's clearly racist as hell. Like,
he got hella footage. Like, he's Heisman Trophy. He
Like,
beat out all those guys for the trophy, right?
And then if you put that
and had a better season argument.
And if you put their numbers together, Mayfield's numbers were the only ones better, right?
They're shook down better than Lamar Jackson's. And this is the thing. It's going to turn into one of those situations where we're going to be looking at the teams that passed up on them and the quarterback troubles that they have. And we're going to say, hey, you passed up on Lamar Jackson. Well, at least that's what I'm hoping for.
It'll certainly, I saw one draft projection. It'll certainly right if he ends up at the bottom of the first round with the Patriots.
The bottom.
Wow.
That'll serve everybody right. Like,
yeah,
wow.
So that means, 3 quarterbacks get taken in front of him. We could even go back to last year as far as Mitch Trubisky and the conversation on who should we take, him or Deshaun Watson. And as far as my perspective, I'm looking at it, I'm like, all signs are pointing to our man Deshaun, and no knock against, money-making Mitch, because I'm rocking with Mitch.
Right.
But, I'm looking at Deshaun Watson out the corner of my eye, for as long as Mitchell Trubisky is our quarterback, and I'm like, is he going to be better than Mitch? And if he did, we had an opportunity to take him, and why didn't we take him?
You know why.
We definitely know why. And it's an open secret, man. It's like, hey, it's a black quarterback. Nah. We saw Donovan, we saw these guys. Let's go with the traditional, whatever it is. But, one of the things I was laughing at earlier this week is Willie Beeman, man. They were circulating a clip from Any Given Sunday, and Willie Beeman was telling Al Pacino, like, look, they tried to make me a cornerback, and that's how I dislocated my shoulder.
Right.
So you complaining about my durability as a quarterback. What about your homies that was trying to force me to be a cornerback?
That's real.
It's an age-old story in the NFL when it comes to black quarterbacks.
And speaking of black quarterbacks, man, our boy Colin Kaepernick, man.
Come on, man.
You had a nice little work. You did some work with him.
Right.
What was that? That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was last May. I attended the Know Your Rights campus at the DuSable Museum. Like,
yes,
his people reached out to me a couple of weeks before it happened, and got to talk with him. And like most people, you're just kind of wondering, like, is he, kind of grasping, like, hey, it might not happen this year. But from speaking with him, man, I feel like he's in a good place. He knows. I think he knew before he took his stand, like, hey, like, this may not work out. And we've seen what's happened with all the injuries with quarterback last year and how some awful play and most NFL teams, they carry like 2-3 quarterbacks the most. So you mean to tell me he's not one of the 60 to 90 best quarterbacks in the world? We see some awful play, especially in Chicago over the years. We see some downright awful quarterback play. Like it's just
they were getting paid a lot of money to be awful.
Yeah, like Mike Glennon.
Did they cut him?
They're waiting to cut him
tomorrow morning.
When it's,
they basically like
on that.
The new league year, they're gonna like give him his walking papers, and he got $18 million to be huff, as you like to say.
Man,
yeah,
huff,
very huff.
Man, but so what's the future of that? Movement of that situation. It definitely took on a life of its own last season, even with Kaepernick out the league. So we saw the NFL start this coalition with the players to put some money behind some of the issues that they're interested in. But how real is that? Can we expect something real to come from that?
Well, that's the thing. Like most sports fans don't realize is black athletes are black people, and they have the same questions, comments, concerns about our lives in America, and they have family members who go through the same thing, and they go through it themselves. And it really shouldn't be shocking to anyone outside our community, like these guys have an opinion about what's going on. And you can see from how the Players Coalition and how Eric Reed, who knelt beside Colin Kaepernick with the initial police brutality protest. A lot of people like to call it a national anthem protest.
Right.
It wasn't a national anthem protest.
Exactly.
It was a police brutality protest. A lot of people, get that wrong. And I explain that to my students in my class about stuff like that. So basically, you had like the Players Coalition that's led by Malcolm Jenkins, so just won a Super Bowl with the Eagles and a couple other folks. They had a different way of doing things, and Colin and some other folks wanted to do something another way, whereas the Players Coalition, they kind of wanted to work with the league, and Colin and those folks were kind of like, well, we see how they operate, so I'm not messing with them like that. That's basically what happened. So it's one of those things where those dudes have a lot of power. Like we're seeing it now. What Jalen Rose, some other folks are trying to do about the NCAA tournament. Like they're kind of talking to these folks. Like, hey, what if you didn't play? And see how them
exercise your power.
Right. You see how the money that these cats are making for teams and stuff like that. Like they can influence their power. Like you see what the NBA guys are doing. That would been unheard of. And that was happening like Magic and MJ's days. Like you see what LeBron and other folks are doing. Like they're willing their power, and they pretty much show who's run the show.
Definitely, man. So we're talking to the one and only Evan F.Moore from the Sun-Times, giving us a glimpse of the behind-the-scene action that was going on in the Colin Kaepernick situation in the NFL last year. Let's go into our last break. On the other end, we'll go ahead and close it out. You're rocking with the Bigs on WVON, the Talk of Chicago.
Yep.
WVON.com.
I got a feeling we're getting that my money be the roof. Look up at the stars, she like, honey, what a roof. Pull up in the dogs, canaries, they go on roof. Even once had a job pouring top on a roof. That boy had it hard, no facade, it's the truth. So now when I'm an archer, get massage, it's the proof.
You hear it, man. You're rocking with the Bigs on WVON, the Talk of Chicago. Man, can we get an update on my man Ross, man? We like to get personal with the last song of the segment, man. He had some complications that put him in the hospital as far as TMZ reported. But, man, over the last couple of years, he's one of the guys that's been in constant rotation in my car, in my whip. Man, so I'm definitely hoping for the best, man. But what's good with our man Rose, Jay?
Man, I'm definitely hoping for the best for Ross, man. I don't know what he was doing. I heard he was with some strippers or something. So it's all, with this internet is undefeated.
Stories, exactly. I know the internet is undefeated, and I know the stories are about to pour in.
I hope he was with some strippers.
He a boss. Bosses go out in
the
boss ways.
Rose, man. Shout out Rose, man.
Definitely shout out to Rose, man. Go ahead and get better real quick for us. But, man, we got our man Evan F.Moore in the building from the Sun-Times, giving us a glimpse of all the behind-the-scene action that's been going on in hockey and in the NFL as far as the police brutality protests and everything that's been going on. But, man, Ev, when you're not reporting, when you're not playing hockey, man, what else does a Chicago reporter like yourself get into?
Man, it's pretty simple. Big cigar guy, so I do a lot of those. Hang out with my 2-year-old daughter. What else? As being in the streets like everybody else, just trying to, survive all this wilderness and make it work.
Yes, sir.
Real talk, man. You're doing a great job, brother. Like I said, man, we got down in this thing, and you hopped down with us, showed us love off the jump, and we took it and ran with it, man. So just know that, man, when we out here, we ain't just representing the bigs, but we represent you, and you representing us, vice versa, man. So,
yeah, definitely. It's different for us who are in this media field, and you're black, and you're not only yourself, you're everybody who rock with you from day one is, they're excited for you. They're just as happy as they are for you, and you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing it for a lot of folks, and some of them you don't even know.
Yes, real. Yes, man, and that's one of the things that we, are learning every day. We said it at the top of the show, but it's a family affair up in this piece every Sunday night, man. GTD in the building. Everybody holding it down, man. There's nothing but love in here, man. That's the only way we got to do it,
Man, Joe, you know how we do over here with the bigs, man. We show love. We spread love. We stay away from the haters. As far away from the haters as possible, but the main thing is to always, always, always keep it player, man.
Definitely always keep it player. Always keep it real. Take a page out of the Bigs book and do it the Bigs way. Man, Gino, man, it's a wrap-up show.
What is this, episode 9?
Episode 6.
Oh, that's it?
It feels like we've been in here for 9-10 weeks, man, but it's been nothing but love and fun in the WVON studios. Shout out to Todd. Todd, you know what I'm asking for at the end of these shows, man. We need a little bit more time on the books.
Ching, ching. What you say, Dre? What was it? Not the money, only the money that folds?
We'd rather have the money that we don't want the money that jingles, the money that wrinkles.
We don't want the jingle. We want the ones that wrinkle. I feel that. I like that slogan. We adopting that, okay, brother?
Yeah, we took that, man. Shout out to our boy Ev in the building, man. It's another one in the books. We got our boy Ron back there, man. We got to shout out Ron sometime.
Always, man. He's been rocking with us from week one, so he's been a part of this journey as much as anybody, man. Definitely shout out to the man on the boards, Ron, holding it down all these weeks, man. Much love to you, brother.
And shout out to John Alexander, Kendall War, Jason, Dre, Terry, the Prayers, Drake.
GTD in the building.
And, of course, our boy Evan F.Moore. Anything else, Evan?
That's it, man. It's y'all show. Do what y'all do.
Yes, sir, man. That's another week in the books. We wrapping it up from the WVON studios, the Talk of Chicago. Thank y'all for tuning in. Already looking forward to another Sunday. We'll catch y'all then.
Peace.